Buongiorno, I'm Chow Daniel of Wines LLC, and today I'm going to talk about Chianti Classico. First, we'll take a look at the map and see where the Chianti Classico zone is. It's in Tuscany, of course. So as our reference point, here is Rome. We go north from Rome all the way up to Florence. It's at the top end of Chianti Classico. And then you go down to Siena, and Siena is the south of it. So it's just this little area here in the middle of Tuscany that is Chianti Classico. That's the only place where you can have Chianti Classico wines from. So let's look at some of the terms here for Chianti Classico. Before I say that, I'll say the main grape in Chianti Classico is Sangiovese. That's the famous grape of Tuscany. Chianti Classico, Brunello di Montalcino, and Vino Nobile are all Sangiovese-based wines. So we'll look at the top of the pyramid for Chianti Classico, and only created a few years ago, is Gran Selezione. Gran Selezione is obviously at the top of the pyramid. It's location terroir-driven wines. They have to be at least 90% Sangiovese, 10% other local Tuscan grape varietals, no international ones. It started out with international, but now it's just all local. So that's the top of the line. Underneath that is Chianti Classico Reservas. They must be at least 80% Sangiovese, and they can be 20% other ones, but they also can be 100% Sangiovese, as the Gran Selezione and the Normale can be. And it has to be at least aged 2 years in oak. And it's more than just the additional year in oak aging for the Reservas over the Normale. They generally are bigger and richer, as Reservas and all wines are. And then thirdly, we have your basic Chianti Classico, 80% Sangiovese, 1 year in oak. So Chianti Classico is one of the most well-known wine words in the world, maybe the most well-known. And so it's only 100 square miles between Florence and Siena, as we've talked about. So it's a small area. And the names of the town there, they'll say inns. So you start off with Greve in Chianti. You go to Panzano in Chianti. You go to Castellina in Chianti. So if you've traveled through that region, you've seen those names on signs. But if you hear somebody talk about it, that's sort of unique to Chianti Classico zone in Tuscany. Now, they also have the Gallo Nero, black rooster, on the label. So Gallo Nero is the sign of Chianti Classico. You see that on the bottle, that black rooster, Gallo Nero. So that's their logo. So what about Sangiovese? Well, it has good tannins and it has good acidity. So good tannins and good acidity. The word acid scares some Americans, but think of it this way. If wine or food doesn't have acid in it, you know what it's called? Bland. Acidity brings out flavors. You have to have acid. Otherwise, you get those cheap wines that you'll say there's nothing here because there's no acid to it. And what is it specially pairs good with? Tomato sauces. Sangiovese is sort of magical with tomato sauces. It really goes well with it. But it's a powerful wine, so it also goes well with other powerful foods like steaks or meats. You need a powerful wine with good acid to cut through those flavors, the fats and the salts of those foods. So any big, powerful, spicy food, Chianti Classico is going to pair well with. Let's take a look at, we've got 3 spectacular wineries that are Classico producers. This one is Nitarde. They're in Castellina in Chianti, and we always have several products from. This is their Casanova di Nitarde. Casanova, let's look at that word. Casa, house, nova, new house of Nitarde. You've heard that word before, Casanova. It's kind of a simple word. But they incorporate art in on their labels. They always have a new artist do it every year. This Casanova di Nitarde is a spectacular Chianti Classico. Then going down to Greve in Chianti, we have Castello Viccomaggio. And the ones that we have are Clement VII. There's a picture of Clement. And who he was a de' Medici Pope. So he was a Pope that lived on that property. So they've named some wines after them, Clement VII. And they like to put their points, 92 points, James Suckling, right on the bottle. They always have good points there. But this is their Reserva, big, rich Chianti Classico Reserva. Not far from them is Castello Viccomaggio. Viccomaggio is just a great winery, and they have agriturismo, a great place to stay. This is their Reserva, Agostino Petri. That was a prior owner of part of the property, and he honored, the Matta family honored them by naming their Chianti Classico Reserva, spectacular Reserva. So Chianti Classico is the name that people know, and if you have it on your wine list, they're going to go to it. But they need some explaining to do, what it pairs well with, and it's not like the old-fashioned or the inexpensive, cheap Chiantis, not Classico, that tend to be too acidic, too tanning, not very good. The good Classicos are going to be soft and rich and smooth, but yet some good kick to them. So you can differentiate Chianti Classico from the lower price, just plain Chiantis out of the Classico zone. So this is something that all the Italian restaurants sell really well, Chianti Classico, and other restaurants do, because people know it. Thanks for listening.